I've been trying to read more. And so part of the mental segment of these journals is going to be talking about the books I'm reading. So I just finished Cameron Haynes' Endure and David Goggins' Never Finished. And I did an Instagram post on it, but I'm just going to kind of go through it again on here. So we'll start with Cameron's book, Endure, but I think there's a lot of similarities between the two books. But I'll start with Endure. So side note, I've met and spent time several times around Cameron. I don't, know him that well, but I've definitely spent time around him. And I can tell you that what you see is what you get with Cameron. He wears it all on his sleeve. What does he care about? Well, he cares about elk hunting, fitness, pushing himself, his family, and his job. And that's it. He's a pretty simple guy, and he's pretty open about everything. He shares everything. He has maintained a job at the county down in Eugene, Oregon, for a lot of years successfully, takes vacation to hunt, and has a normal job. His whole message is around he wants to push himself as far as he can mentally and physically in order to get the most positive results in the elk woods. That's what he wants to do. And I think some people misinterpret it as him preaching to them that they need to run 14 miles a day and sleep 4 hours a night and then run another 14 miles in order to be able to kill elk. In his book, he highlights how that's absolutely not what he's saying. He actually says in the book, you don't need to do what I do to kill elk. That is not what I'm saying. I'm saying for me, meaning him talking to himself, I want to push myself as far as I can with my shooting and my physical and mental fitness to absolutely make triple, quadruple, quintuple sure that I'm the best I can be in the woods for the make a great ethical kill on that elk and honor that animal with my best effort. That does not mean that every elk hunter needs to do what he does. And I think people misunderstand that about Cam. It can come off kind of off-putting to people. It can make people feel threatened. It can make them feel bad about themselves. I think if that's the way you're feeling about his message, maybe if you want to take the time, just read the book. He has very powerful stories about his friend Roy Roth, who was an incredible hunter that he grew up with in the Eugene area that ended up tragically dying on a mountain in Alaska sheep hunting. And a bunch of other really, really powerful stories in the book that are much beyond just running, lifting, and shooting, which is his main message. He has a family past that I thought was interesting. His dad being an alcoholic, but also a track star. So you kind of get a little bit of a glimpse into how Cam, he will say he's not talented. I think he's a pretty talented athlete. But kind of where a little bit of that came from. His dad was a star athlete in the Eugene area, but struggled with alcoholism. And he talks a lot about their relationship and how it was kind of broken. But later in life, before his dad passed away, it was kind of, put back together, which I think is a pretty powerful story. And then just the overall story of basically how can you be better, and how, if you have something that you care about as much as elk hunting means to him, how can you prepare your body and your mind to be the best you can be for that? And it's your own version of it, folks. So don't let it threaten you or be off-putting. I think that was kind of my takeaway from that book. All right. So Dave Goggins, Never Finished. Goggins is, if you don't, you've seen clips of him if you're on social media at all. He is like super duper intense, incredibly intense. I would highly recommend looking him up if you don't know who he is. But in order to understand why he is so intense, it's pretty important to kind of go into his backstory. He was literally born into this world with almost every disadvantage that you can have, from major health issues to abusive family to poverty to being a African American in a predominantly white area. The list goes on and on. Long story short, he ended up being kind of a loser, overweight, didn't know what he was going to do with his life, depressed, sitting on the couch, eating chips. And he had a series of realizations occur where he kind of just figured out this idea of no one gives a shit. If you want to get your life together, you're going to have to take accountability and do it yourself. So he signed up for the Navy, signed up for the SEALs, passed buds, on down the line to where today he went from being that lazy piece of shit in his own terms. It's not me calling him that. He was a lazy piece of shit in his own terms to what he termed as the baddest motherfucker on the planet. He has passed Navy SEAL school, Ranger school, I believe Air Force pararescue. He's one of the only people that's gone through almost all the different special forces. And he's now also a smoke jumper. He's an endurance athlete. He's a motivational speaker. He's a leadership coach. Absolutely incredible story. And the best part about it is he actually knows how to articulate it. His book is very well written. It's easy to understand and extremely powerful. And there's some really, really rough parts, like where he's talking about, the abusive family stuff and some of the issues that his mother went through and he went through getting beat. There's some not fun stuff, but you have to get through that to understand why he is the way he is. And I will say the same thing about him that I say about Cameron, which is don't misunderstand what he's saying. He is not telling you that you need to go ruin your knees and run 250 miles in a race or run 2 marathons every day and lift weights and never sleep and never be comfortable and be the baddest motherfucker on the planet. That is absolutely not his message. His message is how do you push yourself past what you think are your limits to make you the best version of yourself? Period. End of story. That is what he's saying. Anybody that says different, I just disagree. So read that book. He has somebody else read it, but what he does is between every chapter, they do a mini podcast on that chapter where David actually dives in and tells more stories in depth, which I think is super cool. By the way, just for future reference, I don't physically read books. I listen to them. Sorry for those that like holding the books, like my wife. I can't do it. I fall asleep. I'm too lazy. I got to listen to the book and do something else, whether I'm flying on planes or, working out or driving in my truck. I have to listen. So if you're a big book listener, so Cameron reads his book. Goggins has somebody else read it, but he does those mini podcasts in between the chapters. Both are incredible books. I think there's nuggets you can take from both of them, depending on where you are in your life. So that's what I got to say about that.